Stan, your team, the New York Jets. I've seen calls for Saleh to be fired, but that's not what we're talking about. I know you've called for Saleh to be fired too.
Not exactly. There's a bit of nuance to that, but go on.
Okay. Well, maybe this will go into that. So Zach Wilson, according to his mom in an Instagram story, he really wanted to play for you guys. He was trying his hardest to go out there and stay out there, and he was concussed, I think, and got pulled from the game. So, first of all, where do you land on Zach Wilson now? Because it changes weekly based on how he plays, because he is a roller coaster of a human. Where does this put Zach Wilson on your chart?
Well, for one, he is definitely the most consistently inconsistent quarterback I have ever seen. I cannot think of anyone, at least off the top of my head, who has gone from having what looks like the best game of his career to the worst within 1 week, right? It's insane how quickly it changes for Zach Wilson. In regards to the concussion, I think he should have sat out. I think it's really unsafe and dangerous. I do understand where he's coming from. I mean, for Zach Wilson right now, he's not even really playing for the Jets that much. He's playing for his next contract. He's playing for some other team to give him a chance somewhere. So for him, I don't blame him. I think, yeah, you're going to want to play your best and stay out there as much as you can. Zach Wilson has also been a little bit kind of injury prone. He's had quite a few injuries with us, so it could also be a thing of he wants to show maybe a little more resilience. But I definitely think he should have sat out. In regards to what I think about Zach Wilson, I would not even be mad if we kept him, quite frankly, because I think as a backup quarterback, he's very similar to Sam Darnold, except Sam Darnold is definitely way more consistent as a player. But he's one of those guys who he's a premium in my opinion as a backup. As a starter, though, it doesn't pan out. I think for the Jets right now, it's a relationship that has not worked, and for that reason, I think it's best for both of us to move on. There's this publication from Utah called Deseret News, and apparently those journalists are very close with Zach Wilson. They knew the Jets were getting him. They knew which college he was going to. They know his family members, and they were reporting a lot on Zach Wilson the last 2 weeks about him being almost definitely traded in this offseason, that he's going to be pulling for the trades himself. So if that's true, I mean, I really hope the best for him. Even for Darnold, I mean, look at Darnold right now. I know he's not starting, right? But I think he has a good life. I think he has a good role on a good team. He has a chance of winning a Super Bowl this year. I want that for Zach Wilson. I want him to have that type of role somewhere else.
Zach Wilson might get traded. That could be interesting, depending on where he goes. I wonder if any teams would take a chance on him as a starter. But, so, okay. Zach Wilson wasn't supposed to be the starter this year for the New York Jets.
No.
Aaron Rodgers was. And 3 minutes into his Jets playing career, obviously he gets injured. And he's saying all year, I'm going to come back this season. It's going to happen. I got it. And then Jets get eliminated from the playoffs. The same week he gets medically cleared to play. And now the Jets are saying, no, you're not playing. You're not going to play. Now people are saying that Aaron Rodgers planned on this. This was the plan all along. He knew he wasn't going to be able to be healthy before the Jets could be eliminated from the playoffs. He was hoping the Jets would be eliminated from the playoffs. And then he could say, hey, look, we're eliminated from the playoffs. No reason to push it. I'm not going to play. And it was all just BS. And Aaron Rodgers just needed to be the center of attention. I don't know how much I really think. I think people like to hate Aaron Rodgers more than it's actually worth. But what do you think about this whole saga kind of coming to an end? And he is on the active roster now. They moved Aaron Rodgers to the active roster so he could practice with them. But what do you think about this kind of anticlimactic ending to this saga that we've seen all season?
I definitely wish he would have played. I wish we were still in playoff contention, but we're not. And for that reason, I'm happy he's not playing. On the Pat McAfee show, which I think is where you got your info from as well, he did say if the Jets were in playoff contention, it would be a different story. And I agree with that. If you're in playoff contention, why not stay out there and fight? You probably only have 2-3 seasons left in your career at all, so might as well try to make a playoff run. For Aaron Rodgers, at this point in time, 100%, I want him to sit out. I want him to get a little bit healthier so that way next year he can be a little bit more nimble, a little bit more prepared for what hopefully can be a Super Bowl push. And one thing is, there's only so many years that you have one of the top defensive units in the NFL, right? Like the Jets this year, last year, have had one of the best units. And like our biggest hole is we even fixed this offseason. Right? I've been whining about our linebackers since you've known me, and right now we have, I'd say, like two of the best linebackers in the league, right, with C.J. Mosley and Quincy Williams. I think at the half point of the season, Quincy Williams was even voted by like some journalist group to be the best defensive player of the first half of the season. So you have things looking really good for the Jets right now. You have a few different rooms you have to improve this offseason, and you can make a playoff run. Why take the risk of letting Rodgers get injured again? Especially at Rodgers' age, if you re-injure, your leg, that could be off. You could be out a lot longer now. The second part to that equation is the type of surgery they did on him was one that hasn't really been done before. That was the entire point for him to come back, because it was a newer, more technically advanced type of surgery. A part of that also means we don't know how it works. We haven't seen that many people recover from it. In fact, no one's ever recovered from this type of surgery in this fast period of time. So yes, I'd much rather see Rodgers sit on the bench, stay healthy, do what he can to work in practice and get his movement back. Without taking the risk of getting injured in a meaningless game. If it was a meaningful game and we had playoff chances, different story. But right now we don't have that, and that's the story to me.
So, just to lay it out there, do you think he was lying about coming back?
No. No,
You
because if you look at the playoff videos that have come out, like he looks fine. Even like 4 or 5 weeks after, I remember he was warming up with the team before one of the games, right? He was walking. I think in half the time it usually takes people to walk after that surgery. So either A, he was on an insane amount of methamphetamines and able to walk around due to the pain relief, or the surgery did work. I just think it's, why take the risk with all these injuries? And for anyone who thinks he's lying, sure, I guess, but what difference does it make?
What difference does it make? Chus, do you have any thoughts on Aaron Rodgers?
Honestly, I kind of agree with Stan, more or less. I mean, I don't know. It is a very interesting thing. I don't think Aaron Rodgers was lying, though, because, I mean, I feel like this is a very advanced tech type surgery that they did on the Achilles, and obviously he was seen, walking around and throwing the ball and different things like that. So obviously it's not like he's like on crutches or, even worse, like in a wheelchair or something where he can't walk. So I don't think Aaron Rodgers was lying. I think he probably was planning on playing by the end of the season. I don't know how well it would have went down, but we'll never know now. So, but I guess now he'll have the entire 8 months or so to recover from the Achilles, and he didn't even need to do the super fast surgery. So, which is kind of unfortunate because the Jets do have a good enough team to make playoffs and, do a wild card run. But the quarterback situation is just tough over in New York. I'm sorry, Stan.
Just Mike White.
Mike White, and he's just sitting away in Miami right now. But
I really, truly, and I know this sounds stupid, I don't think Aaron Rodgers playing would have made a difference, because the O-line is awful. And I say that as someone who is rooting for the center, Joe Tippmann. I want him to do well. The O-line is awful in New York, and Aaron cannot move, especially with his injury. He's not going to be able to run. He's older. He's not going to get away like Lamar or Josh Allen or even Joe Burrow. I don't think he would have made a huge difference. I think you could put anyone back there and you'll get a similar result. Obviously, Aaron's a better passer than Zach, but how much time will he have? So, what?
I disagree, specifically because Aaron Rodgers' skill has always been avoiding turnovers and making the quick passes. Even like look at him with Devontae Adams, right? Adams was, he still is a great route runner. He's a guy who can be schemed to get open, but a lot of the passes to Tay were very simple slant routes, just right off, reading what the cornerback's positioning is, trying to read the defense and making those quick passes. So I think it would have made a difference. I think he probably would have won every other game we have, because we have the Commanders this week is going to be a crazy game because we have the 32nd ranked offense and they have the 32nd ranked defense. So we'll see how that turns out. But then the other games are the Browns, who very much injured themselves. And then we finally finished the season off with the Patriots, who are having their worst year in our lifetimes. So I think it would have made a big difference. I think he probably would have won all three of the remaining games. With Zach Wilson as quarterback, I think we'll probably win the first and last, not the middle one.
I don't know. You guys have a lot of injuries on that O-line, and I mean, the Browns, you got Myles Garrett is playing with half a shoulder, but he's still a beast, even with half a shoulder. So we'll never know. So there's no point in arguing about it, but I don't know. I think you guys need to invest in some O-line depth.
I don't know.
Chus doesn't know. Chus
No, I was just kind of like